Welcome back, everybody, to the Alpha Foundations podcast. We were back in Monticello, and I've got another guest here that we've had on the show previously, Rick Malthers. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Brent. And
Director of
yourself?
Sales, is that right?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Okay, so this episode, what I want to talk about is possibly, and you can tell me if this is silly or not, homeowners fixing their foundations on their own, like a DIY, what you call a do-it-yourself. Is that something you've seen before? Or what's the kind of the feel out there about homeowners tackling a project like this on their own?
Well, I would say that you and I grew up similarly in the fact that my dad only hired one person ever to do anything,
Okay.
and that was drill a new well. Now, that
Okay.
was after he had attempted it. So, and our water was super terrible for a little while. But,
Okay.
My dad was one of those guys who didn't call anybody,
Right.
unless he absolutely couldn't get it done. So I'm pretty handy, you're pretty handy. So a lot of times that's something I would look at probably at least to diagnose, to figure out if it was something that I could do. And being in the field, you run across that pretty regularly where customers see a problem and feel like it's something they can tackle on their own.
Okay, so they see an issue, they might have dealt with it their whole life, lived in houses with cracks or something, might not think it's a huge
Right.
concern, and might not think that they need to spend the money on an expert.
Okay. So, I mean, the easiest thing to look at is, something cosmetic like a drywall crack.
Okay.
So they're thinking, oh, it's a crack in the drywall. Let me go ahead and fix that.
Sure.
They fix that, great, but the drywall crack comes back, indicative of a larger problem. So then, maybe you have a crawl space. So the homeowner goes underneath the house and looks around and sees something, a little moving and shaking or shifting or something like that. So
Right.
they go in there and try to put a block underneath there or a car jack and, a cooler. I mean,
You've seen
so
some-
it's
all right, walk me through what you've seen before.
the best. Okay, so one of the better ones that I have seen was a homeowner had a beam that was settling or
Right.
moving, probably from moisture, and went underneath the house, and they had used like a car jack to lift up that beam a little bit, and then had stuffed a cooler underneath it.
Like an igloo cooler. This was
Igloo.
before the days of Yeti, or
Correct. Wasn't even a Yeti, so it wasn't even like a really strong one.
Okay, what difference?
So they put a cooler underneath there, and I've actually seen the cooler thing like twice, which is unbelievable. Correct. Yeah. People will put concrete cinder blocks underneath there. A more sophisticated homeowner might put a concrete block on the soil and then put a 4x4 from that concrete block up to the beam or something like that. But yeah, it's pretty normal to see where homeowners have tried to fix it themselves.
Okay, so you're talking about mainly houses that are built on a crawl space.
Right.
A lot of times we will see cracks above, door frames, window frames. So the door frame, when they're walking into the bedroom and they see this crack, they're like, what in the world's going on with that? Must just be cosmetic, but
Right.
as you said there, I mean, it's just not going to crack on its own. It's got to have some movement, something pulling
Correct.
down or something. So
For sure.
it's not so much cosmetic as we say. There's an underlying issue of why that wall is just breaking or cracking. So they tried the spackle, they tried the paint, it continues to open up. So they go up underneath the house. They're not really sure exactly what they're looking at. I mean, there's a maze of floor joists and sill plates and things like that.
Right.
So they grab an igloo that they're not using anymore. It's probably
Exactly.
not a new one from Kmart or something.
Exactly.
Maybe
Exactly.
a landscape timber, a car jack.
Kmart still a thing?
I think Sears bought them out, and if
Okay.
Sears is still a thing, so I would say no. I think Big,
So Igloo's apparently gone
Yeah.
too. I don't know. No.
Big Lots has monopolized all that. So they go up into the house, and it's more of a get you by kind of solution. It's not
Right.
going to address the root
Right.
problem. So the reason that they had those problems is improper spacing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say excess moisture and rot,
Yep.
or their columns or something.
Mhm.
Okay, so you saw the cooler and the 4x4. I've seen actually a tire, like
Okay.
an old 31
Yeah.
1050 blown out like a spare at one time. With just some random cutoffs from 2x4s and 2x6s jammed up. But those are the fun ones. I like things like that. And a stump. I did see a stump being deployed.
Yep, for sure.
That
There's a
was
lot
on
of
northwest side of town.
so many different things you see that homeowners have tried to do, especially when it comes to like lifting concrete or trying to seal the cracks on the outside of the wall or the chimney. Oh my goodness. Okay, so one time, this chimney, right? So a chimney's settling away from a house.
Okay.
So when you have a foundation that's moving and shifting, the chimney is a lot of weight on the outside of the foundation.
Okay.
And so with not only a lot of weight, it's a lot of height. So it will move a little bit quicker than maybe your standard foundation would. So it started moving away from the house. And so you could see where the homeowner had put a 1x2, which is a 1x2 piece of lumber, up the side to, fill the crack.
Got it.
And then about halfway up, you could see they had put a 1x4.
Okay.
Okay. And so then a little bit further up, you could see where they had to come back and put 1x6s.
Okay.
So over time, they just...
So the crack is exaggerated the higher you go.
Yeah, the higher you go, the crack is exaggerated. And so they kept having to change the method in which they were hiding the crack.
The length of the lumber
correct.
as higher as you go.
Correct. And then
That's
now,
awesome.
that'd cost them as much as foundation repair nowadays.
Prices are coming down.
Exactly.
So what would you say the biggest, influx of DIY fixes out there? Is it the internet with the YouTube things about how to save money? You don't need an expert. You can just go out there and Band-Aid fix. Is that probably the biggest reason people are tackling this on their own? Or they're just scared of probably what they know is the inevitable, that it needs some serious help?
I look at myself, and a lot of times it's more of a, is the juice worth the squeeze kind of thing for me as far as time. Yeah, if I look it up on YouTube or something like that, and it's something I think I can tackle, and the money that it takes to fix it myself versus the money it takes to get someone else to fix it, and then again, time. So a lot of people might think they don't have the money to repair it, and so they do it themselves, or they are very handy and they have the ability to put in some type of repair that works for them.
Okay.
Again, your dad and my dad are that way.
Absolutely.
They're not going to call somebody; they're just going to do it themselves. But I'd probably it's only 10-15% of the people, but they definitely try to do that, and I think YouTube probably contributes to that a little bit. I've done it.
Just so you upcycled an old wooden boat paddle that says "Live, Laugh, Love," that really doesn't mean that you need up under your crawl space, swimming and lifting.
Exactly.
I've seen.
But I bought the little soldering or the what is it, Dremel? I bought the Dremel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I bought the Dremel and a new paint kit.
With a Chicago Electric brand from Harbor Freight.
Hey, man. Those
I do
again.
like that stuff.
Yeah, I could stay in there all day.
Okay, so I get it. People want to save money. They're really not wild about having an expert out there at the house telling them that they need to fix it. But
Right.
why do you think it's important? Versus me going down here who doesn't have much experience, or my wife going up under there and trying to figure out what's out. Why would it be important for an expert to go out there and take a look at it?
And I think that's probably the big reason would be you want to make sure you get a repair done by someone that knows what they're doing, and you're getting a long-term warranty with it.
Got it.
So if something does happen in the future, you have somebody that you can call to get help with that. For myself, I know that I'm handy enough. If I thought it through, I could install, a lot of plumbing, probably some electrical stuff and things of that nature. But then it comes down to, for me, do I want to spend the time and possibly not do it 100% correct?
Right.
What are the unintended consequences of that or anything like that? What are the possibilities that that I get hurt? Doing those kind of things. There's a lot of weight and there's a lot of, movement in a foundation that, you could cause some other damage to other areas. So that I would say making sure that you get, a reputable company to do that for you. And make sure you're getting a warranty.
Okay, so a warranty, let's just say I would decide to sell the house, and I'm really thinking about all kinds of things that come along with selling the house, the closing cost, the expenses of moving, and I have an issue with my foundation. If I try to tackle it myself, and a home inspector is going to note that there's an issue, and if I try to fix it by myself with a Band-Aid fix or something, that's going to maybe even throw out more of a red flag of what else are they trying to hide? I see this is not the correct way to fix it. Is this house to have a lot of underlying problems that are being covered with spackle and paint and some, like I said, Band-Aid fixes before. So having an expert goes out there who deals only in foundation repair is probably a good chance.
And that's exactly what the home inspector is going to say. Because the buyer is paying the home inspector to do a home inspection for them. So they're coming back to report on it. Home inspector is not spending days underneath the house. They're spending, 2, 3, 4 hours.
Okay.
And if they see something that's subpar, a wire that's hanging down, or they did go underneath there to lift their foundation and they crimped a wire in between one of the floor joists or one of the beams they tried to put up themselves, which we see regularly.
Okay.
They not only when they went underneath there, they ripped a hole in the air duct for the air conditioning system and never got it repaired, or they did rip it and then they went to the store and bought some tape and fixed it. All of those kind of things are going to be flags, and if you're with the way the real estate market is now, it's going to cause a flag. And with house prices like they are, I mean, somebody doesn't have to spend that money, to buy something that's done subpar.
Okay. So if it was fixed correctly, if the inspector, as you said, was going to note, hey, issue with the southwest corner of the house, contact the foundation expert. You would go out there, design a solution, fix it. It'll be fixed. It'll come with a warranty. So me as a buyer would go see, hey, this was fixed correctly. It's done right. Has a warranty that's fully transferable. I can feel good about that as a buyer and not worry about, like we said, like what else is underlying issues, what else could hit me in the pocketbook later on.
Well, and I would say a lot of our guys will talk to the customer and they sell on the customer service aspect. I know this is a podcast with Alpha Foundations, and everything we do, the intent is to go out there and give the customer the best possible experience and install the best work. There are times when things happen and we have to go back to a house.
Okay.
That's the good thing about calling somebody like Alpha Foundations, though, is because we do have the resources and the ability, if you have something that goes wrong with the repair or some level of unintended consequence, we're going to be out there to fix it for you.
Okay.
We're going to be just standing behind that warranty. We've been here for 20 years. We're going to be here for ever.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So it's the point of it is, yes, you get the warranty, but you get a company that's been here long enough to stand behind the warranty, and you can have some relief of anxiety knowing that even if you do have an issue, when you call somebody, they're going to come out there.
That makes sense. Okay, so homeowners can attempt to do what we do.
Correct.
Lift and level, outside, concrete. That's going to be the really tricky. I hope no one's tackling their concrete repair by trying to lifting and leveling.
Exactly. They're going to
videos.
lose fingers and toes
It's
and
not
everything.
It's not for the layperson to try to
Right.
attempt that. I guess the most attempts we see is in a crawl space. No one's trying to lift their home footing. I don't see
Right.
that. Maybe some old concrete underpinning, but hopefully we're past that, because that's just adds weight to a failing soil. Is there any other things that we see out there that homeowners can attempt that we probably don't want them attempting? Was crawl space mainly the biggest thing that we see?
I would say crawl space and concrete are going to be the main things. People look to remove and replace concrete on their own a lot.
Yeah, there you go.
And that, again, that's something that I know that I could do. But again, at the same time, is it worth your time? Is it worth your time to spend several days on a weekend or a couple of different weekends doing something where by the time you traded your time for that little bit of money,
Sure.
you could have it done right and have a warranty?
Well, let's be honest. No one's replacing driveways on their own, but
No.
maybe a small 3x5 pad on a walkway that is
Right.
been a tripping hazard. They might
For
say,
sure.
"Hey, we can come out here with a sledgehammer, bust it up," and that never goes as well as it's designed.
It's so
to.
terrible.
You got to haul off the concrete. You've got to form it up, and you got to go to Home Depot and put, I don't know how many 80-pound bags, probably 15 80-pound bags in the back of your Subaru. That's probably not the best thing to do on a Saturday.
Exactly.
And,
Now I got to get my job detailed.
That's right.
Got to keep the
It's
Subaru
all
hot,
there.
son.
And then you strass it up with that
Yep.
flat pallet cart they have there at Home
Exactly.
Depot. But it's not addressing the real problem.
Right.
That's the soil. That's
Right.
what we specialize in, is the soil issues. So with our poly level, that is how we lift the level concrete.
Correct.
That's going to come with the warranty as well.
Yes, and that's the big thing, guys, is the warranty and the relief of anxiety, knowing you have somebody there to help you. Again, it's not always going to go exactly as planned or 100% correct or anything like that. We're going to see 25,000 homes this year. The thing that a lot of guys will sell on, though, is, hey, we're going to be here to service the system. We're going to be here to help the house if anything ever does go wrong.
Right. Okay. So instead of wasting Saturday, Sunday, and then having
Correct.
more issues,
Correct.
Oh,
It's a
that's
beautiful weekend. Beautiful
it is
weekend.
nice.
Yeah.
Instead of 100, it's 93.
Exactly.
That's okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Anything else that you can think of, or why someone would want to call an expert instead of trying to do it themselves? I think you nailed it.
Yeah, I think we're good. I mean, again, it's there's a lot of guys out there that are handy.
I am
and-
too. You are.
I know.
What I would probably say, if you're questioning it, if you notice some things that you know are not right in the home, call an expert. Let us go out there, free consultation. We'll walk
Correct.
you through those things. And if you
It's
think
not a pushy sales pitch.
if you
It's
think you can do it,
Yeah.
knock yourself out.
Exactly.
I would advise you that is not the best use of your time or money.
correct.
But we got to. We can help you out, give you a warranty, especially if you're thinking about selling it. You'll feel good about it. We'll knock it out.
100.
Thanks for joining us, my man. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.